All right, we are going to get started here with the free voiceover webinar. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for taking time out of your Thursday evening to be with us. Thani, you can go ahead and unmute your mic. Rob, you can do the same. I want to bring you guys on, and we'll have a big party, and we'll get started here. All right, 1 second here. I've got to get my screen up here. So, there's going to be a lot of great information about the voiceover industry. And those of you that are brand new, hopefully this will provide a really good compass for you. And, we're here not to only fill your minds with knowledge about the voiceover industry, but we're here to also give you that little boost, because it's easy to just sit around and think and wish about things and not actually take action. And that's what we've all had to do in our own career. And we'll get started. Thani, are you with us?
Yep, I'm here.
Perfect. Rob, are you here?
I am here, sir.
All right. Well, welcome. We're going to get started here. And those of you that found us through VoiceOver Camp, we really appreciate you being here. And some of you found us through Google and other places. And we're just happy to have you here. So this is all about heating up your voiceover career, and don't get stuck in the cold. Of course, we had to do the winter theme because the average temperature in Minneapolis in the month of January has been minus 75. And people are wondering how and why we're still alive, but we really are. And Rob, I think even down there in Texas, I think you had a really cold day of 75 degrees.
No, it got down to about 18 this morning, and people lost their mind. So yeah, I mean, it happens. Austin gets about 2 or 3 hard freezes a year, and we're going through one right now. All it does is make me want to just bake.
Well, you guys are in different parts of the country.
And bake bread.
What's nice is all three of us, people always think we work in the same office, and God, wouldn't that be a hell of a lot of fun? But we're actually in 3 different locations. And Thani, you are located where?
I'm in San Diego, California.
San Diego.
And I bet it's a little warmer than -5 there.
It's freezing. It's 65. I don't know what to do with myself. I'm not.
Oh my God, I don't know how you guys live with that.
Yeah, that's San Diego.
If it's under 80, I mean, it's the apocalypse.
Right on. Well, let's get started, everybody. We're gonna let's introduce ourselves. I got to do something here. Hang on a second. Okay, there we go. So I'm Terry Daniel. I've been doing voiceovers for well over 20 years. I got started in theater and radio, and kind of just threw a bunch of darts at a lot of different things. Theater, radio. I worked in advertising. I did on air and I did sales on the radio side, and I always wanted to do something with a microphone because my parents bought me a Mr. Microphone. Well, 2 of them. First, they bought me a Mr. Microphone when I was about 7 years old, and then they bought me a Donnie and Marie Osmond microphone. Now, these were these old microphones way back in the 70s where you actually would find an empty frequency on your AM transistor radio, and you could talk through the radio with one of these microphones. It was just amazing technology for back then. You could put on a show for your family, and it was corny, cheesy fun. But I always knew after that point I wanted to do something with microphones, whether it was radio or voiceover, and it ended up being voiceover. So, I did my first commercial, and I believe it was 1990. It was a country kitchen commercial, and it was a TV spot, and I really just haven't looked back since. Back in, when I was young, I used to do these fake radio shows on my Sears home stereo, on my Panasonic boom boxes, and I used to play songs. I used to write phony commercials. I would even record prank phone calls. By plugging the little Radio Shack mic into the Sears home stereo. Rob, did you ever have a boom box?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. My parents bought a tape recorder type boom box like in the early 80s. And I remember my dad and I would record us doing the parts from like a Mad magazine. Like a skit from a Mad magazine. And he would do a character and I would do a character, and we would go back and forth and just read all of the parts. It was pretty cool. I had a lot of fun with that. My
favorite memory of a prank phone call is I called a McDonald's in the area, And I had this all recorded. It was really easy to do back then. With your landline phone, you would just put the little Radio Shack mic, the mic part, up to the ear part of the landline phone. So I called McDonald's and I asked to speak to the manager, and he came to the phone, and I said, listen, I pretended like I was some big DJ in LA or something. Hey, this is Bob McCann from LA Rock or something like that. And then I told him on the phone, I said, if you can go out into the restaurant and get everybody in the McDonald's restaurant to actually stand up and sing Here Comes Peter Cottontail, I'll send a check to your store for $10,000. And he did it. He was excited. You could hear him dropping the phone and scurrying off into the restaurant. And you could actually hear him coaching people. And people were getting up out of their chair and singing Here Comes Peter Cottontail. It was unbelievable. And I had it all on cassette tape. And then he comes back to the phone. Hey, man, we did it. When are you going to send the check? And suddenly there was a dramatic pause. And I said, well, Jim, you've just been the victim of a prank. Click. That, of course, is not highly recommended, but oh my God, do I wish I had that cassette tape.
That's cruel.
I know.
That's cruel.
It was back, back on those phone lines where you used to be able to like call somebody, and then you would call a second party, and then you could hook them in together and just sit there and listen to them fight on who called who.
The three-way calling thing.
Oh yeah. This all dates me, but man, that's how I got started. That it's all this big, long-winded, funny story is how I got started doing voiceovers. Thani, tell us about your love of the microphone, how you got started, and what your passions are. Let us have it.
I was actually a child actor in San Diego until I graduated high school. And it turns out medical school is like really expensive. So I took my college money and I bought a retail store and got all of my business training kind of away for the first 7 years. And I sold that to pursue voiceover full time, found Terry, and been doing this ever since.
And what would you say your niche is in voiceover? What do you find yourself doing more of?
I've been doing a lot of indie video games for sure, but I kind of center towards commercial, it seems. Commercial is where I get a lot of my jobs, and then kind of that indie video game arena, which is very fun.
Very cool. Rob, what about you? What inspired you? What made you want to get into it? I know you work at a TV station now, and you also do voiceovers, but do you remember wanting to do this as a kid, or what really, tell us the story.
Yeah, I never really thought about doing voiceover or actually even working in radio. I always wanted to be a director. I always wanted to be like a film director. And so I kind of got started with broadcasting just because it was easier to get into. And I just stuck with TV and have been doing stuff in TV for 25 years now. But it seems like every job I had in the TV business, there was always there was always some video that they were producing, and I had some experience on a microphone working at an amusement park where I would do announcements and stuff over the mic, so I felt comfortable doing that. And so I would always do the employee training videos and everything they needed, and it was just something I enjoyed doing. And I thought, well, maybe I should do this as a career. And then I never really thought about it much until a few years ago when a friend of mine gave me a tablet for Christmas, and I realized that the tablet made no sound. It was completely silent without a fan or a spinning hard drive. And so I'm like, I should be doing this for freelance stuff instead of just for companies I work for. And so that's what I've been doing ever since.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned theme parks, because we're in this area of technology now where way back in the day they always had somebody kind of sitting in the front office at a theme park that would just just yell these announcements into a microphone, into the PA system, and it would go throughout the theme park. But these days, they hire voice talents like myself to do them, where we record from our home studio. We send an MP3 to the production company or who's ever in charge of the promotions for that particular theme park. And that's how they play them throughout, the rides and the theme parks and whatnot. So, it really is an industry now where people record everything from home. Even the walk, don't walk is like audio. There's voiceovers coming out of those in New York City and LA. It's pretty cool. So we're going to tell you a little bit more about that. And Rob, I'm just looking at the chat room. Okay, yeah, you're checking questions in the chat room. Yeah, so if you don't want to ask a question live tonight, folks, you can always type a question into the question box too. And Rob, if you want to just keep an eye on that, that'd be great. And just let me know when somebody pops up. That would be awesome. Well, let's get started. So let's start. I mean, you know, we hear this all the time. You know, I've been told my entire life I should be doing something with my voice. You know, every time I show up at Christmas, people are complimenting me on my voice, or people at work are complimenting me on my voice. You know, when I call them to pay a bill over the phone, the customer service rep is salivating over the sound of my voice. So it's like, well, all right, well, how the hell do I get started? Well, research. This is any kind of a business. Research is very important. You know, there's a lot of different, it doesn't even matter if it's photography, on-camera acting, or music. You know, there's good companies online that you can train with. Plus, there's kind of shady ones out there. So it's good to find, you know, to do as much research as possible and learn a little about the business. And Thani, you just mentioned that just a couple of minutes ago. That's exactly what you did.
Right. That's entirely what I did for 3 months before I contacted you. So I already knew what was going to happen at that point. The research is paramount to finding out how you're going to attack your business, how you're going to start with voiceover, and the proper steps to take. If that's such a big sign when you reach out to somebody and you're asking those questions that just take a quick Google.
Yeah. I mean, it's really not that tough. And you know what we're presenting to you tonight, you guys, is just basically some of the steps. You really have to believe in yourself too. You have to believe that you have the skills to do it. It's easy to be insecure and think that you're not good enough, and you might even get naysayers out there that might tell you, oh, you know, there's a lot of myths in the voiceover business, and the one that pisses me off the most is the competitive one. Or, you know, the industry is saturated with talent. Oh, I love that one. Well, you know what? Try selling real estate, or try being an on-camera actor, or try being a musician. You want to talk about saturated businesses? Believe me, voiceover is competitive, but it's not saturated. And, you know, competitive is good for the human spirit. It makes you try harder. It makes you practice harder. It makes you market harder. And we're going to show you some easy things to do later that can kind of help you with that marketer. But don't ever let that's just, you know, those are just excuses. I mean, just because a business is competitive, so that's going to stop you from pursuing your dream. Rob, you must have heard that when you got started. Did that stop you from pursuing your dream?
Not really. I mean, I always heard that, you know, well, I always knew the entertainment business was competitive. But as soon as I really started getting into the voiceover side of it, I realized, yeah, it's the acting side that's pretty competitive. But in the voiceover industry, it's a very giving world. It's a very giving industry, and it's weird that it's so giving. There's so many amazing people out there that give information away, you know, because they genuinely want to help people succeed in the business. And that I like that. That's what attracted me to want to coach was the attention and the care that people gave me when I was starting out, you know, and so yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? There's not a lot of businesses. That's what the voice acting business is really known for, that because it's not. I tell you what, even in the theater industry, on camera acting, not quite as helpful for others that are coming into the business. And I know that for a fact because I have a lot of friends out there who are not only commercial actors, but they've been in like small films, they've been on stage, and they're not quite, I mean, it's not like they're jackasses to each other, but they don't reach out to people. They don't like to mentor. They don't like to, they're a little more guarded on their industry. And that really isn't the voiceover industry. So do me a favor, transform any fears you have tonight into action. Don't make excuses for not getting started. Let's talk about the importance of coaching, because it's not just in voiceover. Think about any business that you go into. Having a mentor, is key. And trying to do things yourself, especially when you're not real educated about the business, can be, a death sentence. Maybe that's a little dramatic, but a coach can help you with your reads. A coach can help you with your marketing. A coach can help you with your demos. You kind of need that. You need that tutelage as you move through. And Rob, Tawny, I mean, you've all had coaching. Tell us, Tawny, give us your thoughts on the whole coaching concept.
It's essential. I don't think that you can really advance without coaching. As I say that, I know there's always like the one or two couple exception people that are like, I've never trained a day in my life and I'm fabulous at it. But like, it is just like anything else where you need that coaching. You wouldn't start any business without training. Like I went straight into my retail store, but besides being raised by people who were already doing that, I absolutely found a mentor, similar to how I found you, Terry, was just online, looking around, looking for somebody who had owned a retail store similar to mine and had the experience, and it worked. It's an investment into your business, and it's something that I would never ever do any kind of business without having that mentor.
Absolutely. And, with voiceover too, it's easy to kind of like read a script and think you're hearing a certain thing, but more times than not, you're not. It's good to have that second set of ears to give you some feedback on your reads. And that's what coaching is really all about, because I guarantee even if you were to record a script tonight on your own and you'll play it back and you think you're hearing, you're like, man, I really sound good. But there's things that you may not have thought about. And that's something that a good coach or mentor can help you guide you along the way. And, we do have a few of our current students who are in on the webinar. And for those of you who are already working with us, if you want to, speak up, we can bring you on as well. And if you want to talk for just like, 20 to 30 seconds on the importance of coaching and what we've done for you so far, just so people that are brand new at voiceover understand how important this really is. So if you want to do that, just raise the virtual hand in the go to webinar widget, and I'll call upon you, because it's good to have a good testimonial or two as well. All right, let's move on. We are going to take a few questions in just a couple of minutes here. So if you'd like to ask a question, you can just fill one out in the question box. Or, our preference would be to bring you on live, because it's more fun that way. All you have to do is raise the virtual hand in the go to webinar widget, and we shall call upon you. All right, from coaching goes to the importance of a professional demo. Rob Marley, why should you why should you not attempt to produce it yourself?
Because it'll sound like shit. I'm sorry.
That's the candid answer.
No matter what, you can study voiceover and you can listen to a ton of demos out there, and you can think, yeah, I can do this. I've got a good voice. People always tell me I have a great voice. I can just record stuff. And so you find scripts. And you throw it all together and you slap some music on there and maybe some zany sound effects or something, and you think, yeah, this is my demo. And then you send it out to a bunch of people and you never hear anything back. And that's the way it goes for a lot of people until they finally get training and get a real demo done. And then you listen to that demo that you sent out and you cringe, because that's exactly what I did. That's exactly what I did. I was I've been in broadcasting. I know what I'm doing. People tell me I got a great voice. I can do this. And so I did it. And yeah, I listened to that first demo and I absolutely cringe every time I hear it. You really can't go into this without being able to tune your ear. I mean, there are freaks of nature out there that haven't gotten a whole lot of coaching or anything like that, may have gotten started. But the catch is that they may have some initial success. Like they may jump into the voiceover business and get a couple of jobs and make a few $1,000, and they'll think they're on their way. And then suddenly the money dries up and they're not getting any work anymore. And the reason is because they don't have the skills. It's an acquired skill. It's not something that you just instinctively have. And being able to talk naturally on a microphone is not an easy thing to do. You have to have training for it.
Well, I always look at on-camera actors and models even. It's not like they're taking their iPhone and taking a selfie of themselves and then sending it to an agency and trying to get work off that. This is the equivalent of trying to do your own demo. I mean, these people are going to
Yeah.
hire a professional photographer, one who has experience in the industry, to put something together that is sellable, something that is marketable. And that is something that a coach and demo producer can do. When I do demos, I try to, especially like a commercial demo, we try to come up with clips on the demo that sound like they're actually real commercials. They have to be believable. Everything from the delivery to the production to, the music, the sound effects, everything has to sound real, which is one of the reasons we do write original copy as well for our demos. We don't borrow scripts from Edge Studio or stuff like that, because we know those are already on a million other demos.
That really is one of the key things that I really like about what we do, is that other guys, other coaches and systems and schools out there, they use canned scripts.
Yeah.
They use scripts that have been done to death. And God help you if you have an Edge Studio script on your demo reel, because I guarantee you every agent has heard every script from Edge Studio.
Yeah.
And they're going to know it. And as soon as they hear it, they're going to delete your file. It's that simple.
And they're not bad to practice with. I mean, I probably have used a few even for coaching purposes, but the demos are completely a different story. And I know there's probably a few of you on the call, well, you guys are just trying to sell us into your program. If you ask any producer or talent agent in the country, they will tell you exactly the same thing as we're telling you right now about demos.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, practice scripts are great for practice. And that's why they're called practice scripts. And that's what I love about us, is that we actually custom write every script that's used in a person's demo. I think that's a huge feature that a lot of people don't really appreciate when they first get started, but it's a huge thing.
So once you're kind of in that process, and we'll take a few questions right after this, I want to talk a little bit about prospect lists, because as you're going through some type of a coaching program, as we tell many of our mentorees, you like to build your lists brick by brick, by coming up with, 7 to 10 new clients a week and putting them down on either, some type of a Google spreadsheet. I'm not a big Microsoft Excel fan. I don't know, Thani, are you a Microsoft Excel fan?
Oh God, no. No.
I like the Google Docs because I think they're user friendly, and so I think we're all on the same page there. And I start working on a spreadsheet, by going to websites like Production Hub, Mandy. We know that Voice Bank is pretty much 6 feet under, so that's not really a good resource anymore.
Oh, they're dead. They're not even running.
Oh yeah, they're dead. But Production Hub and Mandy is still around, and it's important to start building those prospect lists, even long before your demo is ready, because you have to get something to do. And we take a long time when we produce our demos, because I'm very meticulous in the engineering and production part of it. I sit and pick at it almost like an artist in a painting. I'll sit and look at it for a week and not be happy with it. Then I'll try something else. Then I'll listen to it back, through 3 different sets of headphones and my studio monitors. And then I'll listen to it on an iPad and an iPhone. I'm like, you know what? Something is kind of missing here. And then sometimes I even start over. That's kind of my Achilles heel, in a good way. I'm just very meticulous. Yes, Rob.
I was just going to say something about prospect lists. When you're compiling these names, these companies and stuff, do the recon. Go really dig into what that company is. Don't just put the name in a spreadsheet and say, okay, and collect the business name. Like, find out what that company does. Find out what they've done lately. Do they have a Twitter feed? See if they posted like some of their work on Twitter. I mean, if you're targeting, like, for example, you're targeting production companies that specialize in like radio commercials, go to their website and see what stuff that they've posted lately. Find out their social media stuff. If they're posting on Facebook, reply back to something that they've posted and get on their radar. Find out, do research on the company. Don't just collect a name and a phone number or a name and an email address and think that that's all it is. You have to have some kind of connection with the person, because the producer of a production company person that deals with voiceover artists is going to get hit by voiceover artists constantly. So you
Oh yeah.
have to separate yourself. And the way to do that is by doing the hard work, doing the diligence, doing finding out about the company and establishing a connection, establishing a relationship. That's what it's all about.
Well, and Tawny, you've always been a really brilliant marketing mind. Is this similar to like give me take us into a week into the studio of Tawny Plattis on the marketing end of things. What kinds of things do you do on a weekly basis to get clients?
Well, do we have a couple of hours to add to the web?
No, we don't, but you can give me a really short version.
Well, I'll sum up.
Yeah.
I do. It's similar to what you guys are talking about. I do my prospects and I make that sheet. But the biggest thing that I believe in with marketing is building relationships. That's really what it comes down to. Is it's building relationships. As especially coming from owning a retail store, I can't tell you how many times a day I get that phone call and it's like, can I please speak to the person in charge of your credit card processing fees? Click. I don't want to talk to that person. Nobody does. Nobody wants the telemarketer. Nobody wants to be sold to. So what I do is I find my clients and I try to develop that relationship with them first. And that is very much something that requires a lot of organization because you have to keep up with everybody there. So I do the prospecting, I fill out my spreadsheet similar to you guys, and then I make sure that I'm touching bases and following up with these people as well. Most of my time is spent reaching out to clients and following up with existing clients. That's what a lot of voiceover is building those relationships and meeting those people. And then before you know it, they're just going to keep coming back to you as those repeat clients. But diligence and persistence are key to your marketing efforts.
Terrific stuff. Cheryl's got a question in the box. How do you find a good coach or mentor? What are things we need to look for in these individuals? Well, it's important that your coach, I think, is at least, they don't even necessarily have to be a voice actor as long as they're in the business. I mean, Nancy Wolfson out in LA used to be a casting director. She was never really a voice actor, and she's terrific. I think we're terrific. It's good to find people that have, years and years of experience. People like working with Rob, Tawny, and myself, because between all three of us, we do have more than a couple of decades of experience and in different genres of the voiceover industry as well. We all have our little, our little niches, if you will, in how we work with people. Tawny's very good at the marketing side. I like to think that I'm really good at the demo production side. Rob is a tremendous coach. We all just have our little things that we're good at. But it's good, just like doing research, doing voiceover, it's good to do research on the coaching end of it too, because Rob, as you know, there's people that are doing voiceover coaching that have no business doing voiceover coaching.
Yeah, there's a lot of con men out there.
Tell us a little bit about them, because you know what, we give a pretty candid presentation here, and we want to make sure that people do not get steered in the wrong direction.
There's a lot of people that got a little bit of experience and call themselves a voiceover coach. There's a couple of individuals that I give them credit for being go-getters and really working hard and grinding to make it work, but they're frauds. I mean, yeah. They're employing basic principles and they're coaching things that you can learn for free if you did the work yourself. Right. I mean, they're not introducing anything groundbreaking. In fact, even the established pros, in fact, the one that I can't stand anymore, they're not giving you anything that is revolutionary. They're all giving you basic information. And that to me is a waste of money. If I can find the same information online on my own, why am I paying somebody like $400 or $500 or $2,500 to take this class and get coaching if it's just free stuff that you're giving me? It doesn't make any sense to me.
You're absolutely correct. 100%.
There's a lot of people out there like that.
Yeah, there is. It's really kind of sad, actually. Here's a look, by the way, at the Google Doc. This is what I use when I save my prospective clients. This is just a general screenshot of kind of what it looks like. It's nice once you fill in all the information, it automatically saves it, and I just find it to be just a far more user-friendly platform than like an Excel spreadsheet. I love the Google Doc thing for prospecting. We've got some good questions in the question box, but we would certainly love to take a couple questions live. So if somebody wants to come on, just raise the virtual hand in the GoToWebinar widget, and we will call upon you. I'm going to see if we have anybody right now. Mike Hennessy, great coaching session with Terry today. Thank you, Mike. You take direction well, and I always appreciate that. So there is Rob. Do you want to take another one from the question box if you can see one that you haven't answered by hand?
Randy just posted, Google's our friend for research, but how do we best discern the useful info from the chaff? That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. Terry, you got an answer for that one?
Well,
I don't know why
I
I picked that one, because I don't really have a good answer for it. I mean, there's a lot of bad information out there. You really have to know, consider the source. You have to know who's giving you the information, and what do they look like.
That's what it is too. And then, find out from somebody who's been successful in the business. Like, hey, this person's telling me all this stuff. I mean, do you know who this person is, or have you worked with that person before? It's okay to check around. I mean, that's why we have forums and Facebook groups and things like that. But by the way, since we're on the subject, I should bring this up. Speaking of Facebook groups, there are a lot of voiceover groups on Facebook where people have no business giving anybody any instruction or advice. You have to be careful of those people too. It doesn't mean that they aren't wonderful people and that we wouldn't want to hang out with them, but be careful when you go into some of these quote unquote kind of amateurish voiceover groups. We even get people in our voiceover camp group, and we like participation. Obviously, we want to have a really good discussion in there, but there's, occasionally there'll be somebody who started doing voiceovers literally 10 minutes ago who is, framing them and pretending to be an expert and giving everybody all kinds of weird, advice that they pretty much, they should just be a sponge and not let us give the advice, not worry about handing out advice. So you really have to be careful about that too. Carrie Hoffman is here. We work with Carrie. We're getting ready to do her demos, as a matter of fact. She looks like she's got a live question, so I'm going to unmute her mic. Carrie, good evening.
I was late. I was late today, but I made it.
Well, I think everybody in the class noticed, and they're all pissed.
I would trade my job with them any day.
Oh my God, Carrie!
No, my question.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I lost you.
No, we're here. Go ahead.
I'm a dairy farmer. I'm a dairy farmer, so I was out chasing cows around. That's why I was a little bit late.
Oh, no problem.
My question kind of is for Thani, I guess. I live in rural Minnesota, so is it feasible to go and try to sell myself to small businesses? And what's the best way to do that?
All right, I'm going to mute your mic. Thank you, Carrie. And I'm going to give Thani the mic.
If it's small businesses local to yourself, that might be a little tough just because you're rural. But at the same time, that's what's so wonderful about what we do is we're online. We're virtual. I work with clients in Germany and Austria right now.
Yeah.
And in San Diego, it would be worth it because you still have that with that connection there. So depending on what exactly you're asking, it is absolutely worth it because you're from Minnesota. That's something you have in common right there. You are able to make that relationship. I do that with almost all of my clients where I try to find that thing in common. I always like to start local too. So I'm like, hey, I just noticed that you're in San Diego. I grew up in San Diego and I really appreciate you being here and all these things that you do. It's absolutely worth it, definitely, because you have that built in right there where you have something in common. They're going to be interested. A lot of local businesses like working with other local businesses too. So there's a lot that you have there that you can definitely capitalize on.
Well, and there's things that you can do in your community to connect with other people too. You can join meetup groups. You can join your local chamber of commerce, where you have a chance to meet with other business owners. I've gotten a lot of on-hold messaging gigs this way. You can do a small mailer in your community where you're sending out postcards to local businesses, and that's a way to develop a good rapport in your local community. But keep in mind, this is voiceover in the new millennium. You have the ability now to work with anybody in the country. people think that, oh man, Terry, you must be a superstar in Minneapolis. Well, not really, to be honest. Most of my clients are on the East Coast. I do a lot of work for clients on the East Coast. And just like Thani, I've got clients in Europe who, I record jobs here. I send them the MP3 of the commercial or narration. They pay me via PayPal or whatnot. And it's a done deal. I'm not, it's funny because it kind of works that way in the voiceover industry. I'm just, I get 2 to 3 really nice gigs a month via my local talent agent, which is nuts. They are fantastic. But the bulk of my work comes from working directly with producers, audiovisual directors, and clients themselves. And the beauty of this industry, Thani, you know better than anybody, you do not need a talent agent to make a good living at doing this.
Oh, no, not at all. I definitely have it on the back burner, it's like, maybe someday, but it just hasn't seemed to be a big draw for me. It hasn't been a huge priority because I get my work myself as an independent freelancer, and I kind of like it that way too. I have more control over my schedule. I really, really enjoy working one-on-one with my clients and being there for them. And I just like the flexibility and the control that gives me. I'm actually not, like I said, it's not something I'm opposed to, but I'm also not actively looking for an agent. And that's what I love about it is I still am a business owner. I'm still my own boss.
Terrific. We've got a live question coming in from Geraldine Mitchell. Geraldine, hang on. I'm going to unmute your mic. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it takes a couple minutes. I'm going to go ahead and just wait for her mic to be unmuted. But as you can see the slide, folks, here, this is how that you can keep it kind of easy too. Contact 5 new businesses a day. Once you have your demos completed, this keeps it very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very, very easy to manage. Sometimes people think that you have to just sit and make 200 cold calls a week. That's not necessarily true. If you can discipline yourself and, slice a little bit of time out of your day to contact 5 new businesses a day, you're going to be in good shape. And it looks like Geraldine is now with us. Geraldine, good evening and welcome.
Good evening. Welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I actually have 2 questions.
Yes.
My first one is I'm a classically trained opera singer, and I know where to go to find a great vocal teacher, vocal coach for myself and for my students. Would it be wise for us as beginners in the voiceover industry to go to a university like the U of H or Rice, because I'm in Houston, and ask them for advice? Or I have also seen places like agencies that say go to these people first, get coaching through them first, and then possibly come to us. My second question is, does not having an agent prevent you from getting certain roles at all, or are you free to get whatever role you want or wish to get?
Well, let me answer your second question first. It really depends on the type of job. Obviously, having a talent agent, you're going to be put in front of, bigger clients like national broadcast. Without a talent agent, I'm not 100% sure I would have gotten my Great Clips campaign, which was a national campaign. I'm not sure I could have gotten Bank of America without a talent agent. Now, that doesn't mean that I couldn't have gotten that client somehow, but it is very possible to get. There are large gigs that you can get without a talent agent, but it certainly helps, getting like a Coors beer or Ford truck, getting a talent agent for that. Getting to the first part of your question, if I can remember it correctly, going to the universities and going to the community colleges, sometimes they'll have like a decent intro to voiceover class, similar maybe to what we're talking about here, but don't be afraid to, that can be very overwhelming. Just hire Rob Marley.
Okay, I was actually thinking of that. I'm like, he's right there. That would be a great idea.
You guys are in the same state, for God's sake.
Honestly, the best way to go, and I know this doesn't, I'm not trying to pitch ourselves here, but if you really are looking to find a voiceover coach, one of the best ways to go is to ask the people that are making money. Ask the voiceover talents that you hear. Like if you're really into a commercial, if you're into commercial voiceover, start talking to the voiceover pros that you hear from time to time and ask them who their coach was. And they're going to tell you who it is. Because you want to get a coach that has a proven track record. And that's the problem with a lot of these fly by night guys that have popped up, that they work hard, but what's their success stories? And so you want to find somebody that has a proven track record, that has people that are still working in the business and making good money at it. I mean, that's the mark of a coach, is when their students succeed. So ask around.
Understandable.
Yeah,
ask around. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Geraldine. I'm going to stay on the line there. I'm going to, God, I went back to my radio days. Stay on the line. We're going to send you a couple of tickets to Ario.
You're the seventh caller.
That's what I almost said to her. Thank you, Geraldine. And speaking of talent agencies, I've got the new slide on the screen. I want to talk about agencies just for a couple minutes here, because when you get demos, you can do it the way that Thani or Rob do it. And they just, for the most part, would just prefer to work with clients direct or producers, which is great. I happen to like to do both. I have my business is really 50-50, 50% agency work and 50% working directly with clients and producers. Now you'll see a little bullet point here called Talent Agency Protocol. This is really, really important, you guys. If you are going to submit your demos to talent agencies, it's really important to go onto the talent agency website and find out how they want it submitted. If they don't want phone calls this month, don't call them. If they don't want an MP3 sent to them via email, don't send them an MP3. Because I got to tell you, I got to be honest, I've got a lot of friends who are talent agents in the business, and people always do the opposite of what they're instructed. And that is never a good way to start a relationship. So follow the talent agency protocol, be respectful of their time. And, when you submit a demo and you haven't heard anything back, follow up maybe a month later. Don't call them every day, every hour, wondering if they've had a chance to listen to it. And this goes for auditions too. They're the old line, and we've all heard it a million times, record and forget. And that's exactly what you should do when you record auditions for agencies. Don't send them the audition and then call them the next day wondering if you got the gig or if they heard any feedback from the client. You're going to look real green if you do that. So
just think of it as practice.
Don't do it. Yeah, think of it as practice.
That's the best way to go. Anytime you get an agent sending you an audition, chances are that agent is sending that audition to everybody in their roster, and every agency is sending that to everybody in their roster. So you're going to be competing with possibly tens of thousands of expert professional voice talent. So the odds of landing an agency job are slim. They're doable, but it's slim. But really, when you get an agency audition, just treat it as practice. It's a perfect opportunity to work with a new script, practice your cold reading skills, but don't give them the first take. Spend some time rehearsing, spend some time working it through, woodshedding the script, as we say, and consider it practice, but make it good practice, make it focused practice.
Well, here's the best lead resource that really nobody talks about. It's media departments and corporations. I would say that this is probably, if I were to put a percentage on this, I would say it's 35 to 40% of my business every year. And most corporations have in-house studios, audio-visual directors who are in charge of the media for that particular company. This could be training videos, PowerPoint presentations, maybe some, anything like that. It's how I've gotten work with Honeywell, which is just down the street, along with General Mills, where I called the front desk and asked to speak to the the media director or the creative director. These are things that you should write down, folks. Audio-visual director, media director, creative directory. Those are the three things that'll get you past the gatekeeper. You're not always going to get past the gatekeeper, but those are people to ask for. Thani, I mean, you do a lot of work with people direct. What can you tell us about contacting these types of places direct?
As far as contacting direct, what I do is I actually use LinkedIn quite a bit. I like to find out who the audio, visual, creative, they all have different names, but I try to go on that website, find out as much as I can about this corporation. Try to, again, I harp on this, as if you coach with me, you know, I harp on the relationship thing. I try to find that thing that we have in common, something I can build a relationship with. And then I go on LinkedIn. And that's great because you can find out a name associated with that title. I love names.
Yeah.
Because it gives that
Good
personal.
idea.
So I go, yeah, and that's how I do it, is I send them a message and I try to ask about them. I don't make it about me. It's never about you as the voiceover talent. It's about them and the solutions that you can provide for them. So that's how I make those connections. I start up a conversation and then it naturally goes into, you know, oh, I do voiceover, yada, 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 yada. So that's how I make those connections. I'm definitely more of the LinkedIn gal than the cold call gal.
Nothing wrong
Cold
with
calling
that.
sucks. Cold
Yeah.
calling really sucks. It really does.
And I know, and Terry is so good at it, and you recommend it, and I just like, it's not my thing, but that goes back to we're all different, and we all have to do what works for us too.
Well,
Yeah,
back when I was doing radio sales, I would send emails to companies. I hated the cold calling thing, and that actually worked pretty well. So, you know, honestly, however you can get to the right contact person. And I did love what Thani said about, you know, don't just sit and talk about your fabulous voice and your career. Talk about what you can do to help them push a product or improve their business. It's all about coming up with a really good, non-self-serving marketing objective.
Exactly. And I'm the same way with the emails too. If I can't find them on LinkedIn, I send them an email, and that has been doing great for me so far. I've been able to avoid the cold calls.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. We got a call here, or a live question coming in from Brent Rinders. Brent, good evening, my friend. It's been a while.
Hi there. How's it going? Can you hear me?
Good, man. Brent is from lovely Minneapolis. Brent and I, how long ago did we work together?
On the demo? I'd have to pull up the file. Actually,
It was quite a while ago.
a couple years, maybe.
Well, welcome, sir. It's good to see your name in the class. What, you have a question for us?
Yeah, I had a question for Thani. It was about where does she go to look for these indie game developers? I was kind of curious about that. I don't want her to divulge all her secrets unless she wants to.
That's a really great question. Hang on, Brent.
You can book a session with me. No, I'm just kidding. As far as like finding that goes, it's through all those different venues and reaching out to people through social media. So you try to find those people that are in that organization. I use Reddit. I use Facebook. Twitter is fantastic. And once you're involved in those communities and you're engaging genuinely, not just like, hey, I'm a voiceover, here's my stuff. Hey, I'm a voiceover, here's my website. But if you're actually talking to these people about their games, you're asking them questions, they can tell you care, that right there is essential to getting those jobs. That's how I find them myself, is I try to go to the people and their art directly. Instagram's another one because people post things. I just did that today. Actually, I'm in the process of hopefully getting another indie video game gig. But that's how I find them. Again, like, and I'm such a broken record, but it's about the people. It's not about the work. It's not about the dollars. I mean, it is, but it's about the people. It's about building those relationships and genuinely having a passion for their project just as much as they are. So that's so true for indie video games, but it also extends to the stuff that is maybe not quite as fun. I would always rather be some amazing warrior with a sword than talk about a water filtration system. But the water filtration super duper fun because it's better than anything else. And then I pretend I built the water filtration system and I'm giving a TED talk on it. And then it's a blast because I'm an expert and everybody has to listen to me.
You know
so
what?
Really what it comes down to.
That's exactly the right attitude to have when you're working on something like that. You need to create a character for the spot. That's something I tell all the students that I work with, is that in every script, you're a character.
Exactly.
Even if it's a medical narration.
Absolutely. You're a doctor, or you're a pharmacist selling to doctors. You know, that's what it's all about. Creating a character and believing in that character, and that will come through in what you're saying. That's the crux of that's the basis of acting. That's what acting is all about. And that's what voiceover really is in the background, is you have to know how to act.
Well,
Exactly.
speaking of medical, I had speaking of medical jobs, I had the honor of doing a tutorial on a brand new catheter
Oh God.
that has been introduced by a certain company that I'm not allowed to mention the name, but that was an interesting e-learning module, and one. Let's just say that the following night I wet the bed. So yeah, there's all kinds of interesting jobs, but stay motivated. You get the coaching, you get the good demos, you start doing the marketing, and you start to get the work. That doesn't mean that you need to sleep on everything, because you never know when this business is going to go away. I mean, all three of us who have had success in voice acting continue to get out there and make some noise on the marketing level. So, and that includes attending classes and keep practicing. That's why in one of our, in our, top 2-tiered voiceover training programs. That's why in our group classes, we keep the door open. Long after your demos have been produced, you're still invited to come back and learn and practice. That's why Brent, who was just on the line, he's been in those Saturday group classes, and I worked with him like 2 years ago, and he still comes back. And because you never know when you're going to fall into a bad speech pattern, or it doesn't mean that there's always a new agency or a new mic. There's always something new to learn. Rob, do you have are there any fresh questions in the box?
I'm kind of answering them as we're going here. The one
problem.
that just popped up just now is, if you're just starting out, which VO conference would you attend? Is it worth it? And I'll answer that really quick. There's a bunch of great voiceover conferences out there. Some have fallen by the wayside. Some are coming back. The biggest right now seems to be VO Atlanta. It seems to be huge. They've sold out the hotel for this year. It's in 40 days or something like that, and they've got overflow hotels. It's a huge collection of the biggest names in the business, and it's a great way to not just rub elbows with the celebrities, but actually ask questions. It's not an us versus them. It's all of us. I mean, everybody that goes to one of these things is in the same boat. We're all trying to find work. We're all trying to keep busy. We're all trying to be successful. So if you're just starting out, it's easy to go up and ask somebody like Joe Cipriano some questions, and he's more than happy to answer them for you.
He's a good
if you
dude,
don't know
too.
who
He's
Joe
a great
Cipriano
dude.
is,
It's really it's the new James Alberger, Penny Abshire Voice International of the new millennium.
Yeah,
it's kind of
VO
what
Atlanta really is. It really is. Now, is it worth it? When you're just starting out, it's expensive. I ain't gonna lie. VO Atlanta is like $600-700, something like that. And then if you start signing up for X sessions, which are these little little side sessions that you can have in addition to the conference, it could be $200 or $300 for each one of those. So yeah, it's really expensive to go to this thing. And I don't necessarily know if it's worth it for somebody that's just starting out. But if you've been in the business for a few years and you've got some experience, you've got some skills that you're working on, it's a great way to get connected with coaches and learn stuff from coaches without having to spend a fortune for the one-on-one stuff.
And if you are brand new, I would really look at like a mentorship with somebody, because
absolutely,
all these conferences are great conferences, but in my opinion, and maybe I am a little biased on this, but none of them hold a candle to a one-on-one mentor.
Yeah, it's in all of these things you're dealing with, like the X sessions. It's like a group of 12 people, which is great because it's 12 people in a room with a big name coach or a big name producer, which is great. But it's not the same as being one-on-one with that coach. It's not the same as getting actual instruction from that person. And that's really what you're talking about with a mentorship. It's a mentor is somebody who kind of takes you under their wing and shows you what you need to know. When you go to these conferences, it's going to be a professional showing everybody what they know, but it's not custom tailored to that specific person. It's for the group. So if you really want to learn, mentorship is the only way to go. Because you need somebody to hold your hand, not just hold your hand, but kick your ass when you're not doing it right. And that's the thing. That's key, that's important.
Well, yeah, and then it's kind of interesting because it's such a fun time in this industry. Back when I first got started in the late 80s, early 90s, there wasn't any internet, and the only chance at getting any work was really through a talent agent. And even when you auditioned, you had to show up to their office and, do it into the little microphone that they had set up there. And we didn't have the marketing tools, especially, let's talk social media just for a second. We didn't have Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. Right now, we've got all these great tools in front of us that kind of help us push our business. And that's why it's such a great time to get into this. And if you're somebody that's been kind of sitting on the fence, watching everybody else do it, it's time for you to jump off the fence. But you know what? You got to remember to have fun too. If this isn't fun, if this entire process isn't fun, then you should look for something else to do, because even though it's hard work, we're not washing windows on the 97th floor of a building, or we're not scraping tar off the top of a tall skyscraper, and we're not doing road construction in Minneapolis in the middle of January. This is voice acting. You're promoting your voice. You're promoting your voiceover business from the comfort of your own home, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. It's time for the damn prize. We gotta get a jingle written for this. Rob, you said before the call, you said you were listening to some Black Sabbath.
I was humming Black Sabbath. I wasn't really listening to it.
Is there anything where you could implement this line into a Black Sabbath song?
Oh, right now. God damn it, Terry.
It's time.
You're putting me on the spot, man.
It's time for the damn prize. My bad. And
I tell you what,
it's time for the damn prize.
I'm going to write a jingle for the next one, I promise.
Oh, you should. You should definitely do that. So we do have a prize. And by the way, I get these gift cards from Sweetwater, and they take forever to mail them. So plan on at least a few weeks to actually receive your prize. But this particular prize goes to Kevin Lawrence.
Dun, 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 dun.
How about a round of applause for Kevin Lawrence? And your second prize is listening to us talk like this for the rest of the webinar.
God.
Oh, God. Welcome to the show. God, we've got like 45 people in here. This is awesome. All right. Well, congratulations on the prize. And let's move on to this. Before we are getting ready to wrap things up, I want to talk about VoiceOver Camp. If you're not a member of our Facebook group, there's the link right there in the slide. It's facebook.com/groups/voiceovercamp. This is where we have conversations about voiceovers. We make announcements about our upcoming webinars. For those of you on our coaching roster, I'll make announcements on the next group class. You've seen, students of ours who have posted their success stories in there or have posted their demos. And obviously our wish would be for you to become a member of our coaching roster. And we're going to make that easy for you to do as well. So, if this is a free group to sign up for. So if you're not a member of VoiceOver Camp, go to facebook.com/groups/voiceovercamp. Actually, you know what? I can type it in the chat box here. So that way you can just link onto it. Hang on one second here. Facebook.
No one actually used the chat box. They all used the question box. And so I've been answering as many questions as I can through the question box.
That's a good thing, because I think from the attendee perspective, I think it's hard to actually find. I don't even know if they can do the chat box. Well, there's the link right there. You should find it right there, and then you can send me a request to be in VoiceOver Camp, and we'll allow you to come in. All right, here comes the fun part, and I really want you guys to take advantage of it. You've sat here and listened to us blabber on about voiceovers for almost an hour here. We're very fun, candid, educated, successful voice actors, but I want to encourage you not to put this off. We're going to offer everybody on this call, at least everybody who's not on our coaching roster, we want to offer you a free voiceover consultation immediately following the webinar. And here's how it works. Thani and Rob are going to be available for the next 30 minutes only. And the best way to go about this is just to message them on Facebook. And the links to their Facebook pages are right there in the slide. You can also find them in VoiceOver Camp if you search through the members. Is that generally the way you guys would like to be contacted?
Through Facebook? Yeah, it's an easy way to go.
I prefer telekinesis.
What kinds of things do you guys talk about when people make inquiries about these consultations?
Usually, I'm answering whatever question that they have and trying to steer them in the right direction. If they're interested in getting coaching, then I show them what they need to do. I'm just there to answer any kind of question that they have. Sometimes it's technical questions, sometimes it's performance stuff. It's really whatever you want to ask me. I'm more than happy to answer.
Well, here's the deal too, you guys. I mean, we really try to set these up as entertaining and educational webinars, but of course, we want to encourage you. We've got some terrific voiceover coaching programs. I'm not going to show you the website here on the webinar because that's not really what this is about. It's not a big sales pitch, but I do want to encourage you that if this is something that you've been thinking about for a long time, the more you put it off, the more likely you're just not going to do it. I can't tell you how many people we talk with on a monthly basis who, well, I'm still kind of thinking about it. I'm waiting for my tax return, or I'm waiting for the 4th of July, or I'm waiting until after Christmas. There's always an excuse. And I'm not ripping on you because I'm looking in the mirror, because this was me 20 years ago. I did the same stuff all the time. I'm like, I'm going to do my demo myself. I'm just going to buy a TDK cassette, put it in a Panasonic boombox, and read a bunch of magazine advertisements. And that's what I did. And I did the same stuff. I'm like, I couldn't get out of my, I was tripping over my own ego. I thought I could do everything my way. And I was just too stubborn. I'm like, I don't need a teacher. I don't need a coach. I've got God-given talent. I'm going to figure this shit out on my own.
Yeah, how well did that work?
And I started drowning. It didn't work. It just does not work. So we want to encourage you people to take advantage of the free consultation. Rob and Thani will be happy to answer any questions after the webinar. And if you are interested in hearing a little bit more about what we do as a team, as a mentorship team, they will certainly be willing to share that with you as well. I want to thank Rob Marley, Thani Plattis for taking time out of their busy Thursday evening to have so much fun. It's just, I got to tell you guys, it's not as much fun doing this by myself. It's so much more fun having you guys in this.
Yeah, I like doing this. It's more just like us shooting the breeze anyway. I like that. I like it. This is fun to do.
It really is. So, what time is it here? Is it? It's 7 o'clock. Yeah, we really got to go. So go ahead, take advantage of the free voiceover consultation. Message Thani or Rob via Facebook Messenger. They'll be happy to talk with you for 30 minutes only, and then they got to sign off for the night. But I want to encourage you to take advantage of this offer because we really want to. I mean, we're in the business of helping people. There's a lot of real shady mentors out there. I'm going to be really honest, and people are going to try to spin you around like a top and force you to go in directions that you don't want to go. We want to show you how to get into this business the right way. You're talking to experienced voice actors, so we appreciate your trust. So talk with them. Thank you, everybody, for participating in the webinar. I'm going to post the recording of this in VoiceOver Camp tomorrow. So if some of you had to duck out early or came to it late, rather, we will get that going for you. So thank you, guys. Thank you, Thani. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate everybody being a part of the webinar, and have a great night. And we'll see you online. Take care, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.